Other news, it is a massive $85 billion deal that's been struck over the weekend. Telecom giant AT&T has agreed to buy Time Warner's content division.
As you heard, Facebook has bought the mobile messaging service WhatsApp for $19 billion in cash and stock.
After rejecting the idea a couple of years ago, Continental and United Airlines announced plans this morning to finally merge. It will create the world's largest airline. But is it a good deal or a bad deal for passengers?
Donald Trump has already chimed in on this deal and says that if he were president, he would block this merger because, quote, it's too much concentration of power in the hands of too few.
Every time I watch a news report on mergers like these, I'm fascinated by the possible effects that they will have on the American people. So why should Americans care more about mergers? Because monopolies in the market have the ability to increase prices on everyday goods. Consumers are impacted the most by mergers. Before I researched mergers for this documentary, the term merger was very vague to me. However, I quickly learned that a merger is like the game of Pac-Man, where the most powerful corporations throughout the world are attempting to control an entire economic sector and eliminate competition to develop an unopposed market. Just as Pac-Man goes around eating all the Pac dots and increasing his score, corporations are biting through other companies and leaving them in their midst.
In this recovery, we are not recovering. We are losing something precious. We are losing what has allowed this nation to contribute more to human happiness than any other nation in history. We are losing the opportunity to live the American dream.
In the past 25 years, companies such as Google, Kraft, and Anthem have arranged numerous mergers and acquisitions to increase their profitability. Moreover, the list of companies that Google has purchased since its foundation in 1998 may surprise you. Google has spent almost $25 billion to buy 10 of its most important acquisitions of the more than 200 that it has completed. These mergers include Waze, YouTube, Nest Labs, and Motorola, and they ensure that we use their products every day.
What typically happens is when, there's obviously tons of corporate mergers that occur all the time. When something huge happens, when multi-billion-dollar deals that affect companies that people use, pharmaceutical companies or companies, in the media, people sit up and take notice and they ask themselves, how's this going to affect me? And so I'm not sure that that's changed, although, since the meltdown of '08, there's a great deal more sort of suspicion of corporations, of Wall Street, of all this stuff. So I think people are maybe a little bit more suspicious of mergers and how that may affect them than they were 20 years ago.
And with these mergers, corporations can reduce costs by eliminating unprofitable assets and improving the technical and mechanical production of goods. Although when some mergers go south, like Kmart Sears or Heinz Kraft, employees are the ones that have to take the hit through layoffs or accepting lower salaries.
Feel a little more relaxed in your favorite Kmart clothes?
Tell him, Ray.
Kmart sucks. I see.
Everyone knows the famous line from Rain Man, Kmart sucks. Guess what? So does Sears.
Since merging with Kmart in 2005, Sears has closed half of its locations, which include Kmart stores, and eliminated more than 137,000 jobs.
As most people know, the government doesn't always say yes or no on a merger. They often say, well, yes, you can merge, but you've got to get rid of this business or do this or make these changes. Again, in an effort to avoid anti-competitive behavior that hurts consumers. So in other words, the idea behind the FTC approving industrial mergers, the whole Hart-Scott-Rodino, what we call HSR approval, and then for the financial sector, of course, the Federal Reserve and other financial regulators, signing off on mergers.
I don't know how familiar you are with the regulatory environment, but in the public space, it's gotten very expensive to comply with all the laws, Dodd-Frank, and a lot of other SEC requirements that are in place for public companies. So what you'll find is there's a lot of activity. Small companies can't really take on those fixed costs. They're too small. They don't have enough profit margin.
Hardworking Americans don't deserve to be taken advantage of by companies, and I believe it is the government's job to have more foresight in regulating mergers. Although the government supervises mergers that reduce competition, since the 1980s, the federal government has become less aggressive in preventing the mergers.
There aren't a lot of mergers that are accomplished because, gosh, look at this, we're going to be able to hire another 10,000 people. The reverse is true. Mergers are, we can get rid of this department and that department, and that means fewer jobs. So on balance, merger activity is something that I think, on balance, reduces employment out there. This is one of the many reasons why people are suspicious of government. Now, it's not government's role to say, gosh, you can't fire people. No, you need a larger HR department. That's not the government's role. It's not what the government does. The government's role, of course, is to look out for the benefit of all consumers, even if it makes us sad that mergers often result in so-called synergies, which result in fewer people being employed.
In a sustainable economy that Obama created by adding more than 9 million jobs and increasing corporate profits by 166%, large corporations have the economic stability and profitability from customer spending to overtake smaller corporations.
The stability of the unemployment rate, combined with above-trend job growth, suggests that the U.S. economy has had a bit more room to run than anticipated earlier.
President-elect Donald Trump hopes to continue increasing the growth rate and adding more jobs, but he needs to step in and prevent companies from taking tax benefits and monopolizing.
I was talking to one of the candidates the other day. I was talking about corporate inversions, and they didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. They had no idea. It's not their thing. And unless we stop all of the things that are going with other countries, and unless we make great trade deals, we're being eaten alive.
It's hard, of course, because along with corporate mergers, you've got, public health and Syria and, Medicare and Social Security. So there's a lot of issues out there, but this is one that can affect individual citizens, and they ought to at least be cognizant of what it means and how it can affect them.
While I cannot personally change much in the financial field, I can trust and support the upcoming administration and politicians to ensure my protection from corporate mergers and hypocrisy. Thank you.